Hello, everybody. Welcome to JK Shares. This is your host, Twesje Jackson Kaguri, aka TJK. Happy New Year, happy 2024. We have told you on this channel, we will bring you extraordinary people who are doing extraordinary things. We've gone on different continents all over. And today I have exciting news for you and a guest who comes from a continent we have not been on. My friend.
Agrandi.
Agrandi. Numerology. We decided we are going to greet each other in different languages. Today is an informal greeting in Portuguese. Beatriz
Yes.
was my classmate at Harvard in our Advanced Leadership Initiative. She attended and came back 10 years later to continue working on the work she has done in Brazil. São Paulo, Brazil is morning. Here in Uganda, Kampala offices is afternoon, 4 p.m. for me, 10 a.m. for Beatriz. Welcome to this channel. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Let's have this conversation. And thank you for the work you do in this world. I was amazed, I was inspired, and I'm moved by the work you've done. I don't want to give it away. You will talk about it. Welcome. Please greet the people. You can start in Portuguese, and then we switch into English. But our Portuguese listeners will bring in Portuguese links, will bring in Portuguese words. Let's learn together. The channel is all about learning, relearning, and unlearning. My agenda is to learn Portuguese one day.
Thank you, Jackson. It's a pleasure to be here with you, my friend. I am really nice and tudo bem por aqui, está tudo ótimo. This is in Portuguese.
Yes.
We are nice here. So it's a pleasure to share a bit of my work with you and have this conversation. Thank you for the invitation.
You are welcome. As we start with every guest who's been here, more than 120 guests have been hosted here. Many you know, many you get to know. In our cohort, Karen has been here. Scott has been here. Esmeralda has been here. We'll get everybody
Wow.
the time we are here. But ladies and gentlemen, we have the South America continent represented. And Beatriz is going to share with us a little bit more. Start with just a little bit about yourself, your background, your childhood, and what made the woman you became. Early memories of you.
Well, I come from Brazil. I've been born and raised here in São Paulo. Then in my adult life, I lived 20 years in Rio. So I've been in both big cities of Brazil.
Yes.
And always, I've been always in love with education. So that has been my real passion throughout my professional development. Since young. I started very young. I started working as a teacher with 17. So since then, I've been amazed and in love with the classroom situation. I love to see people learning, and especially children. So I come from a singular family, and my parents both have academic background. So my mother was an anthropologist. My father is a very well-known sociologist. And they have very successful careers, international and national careers. So I've had the opportunity since very young to travel around the world with them, because they were giving classes in different universities.
Yes.
In different countries. So that's where my commitment with education and with the society comes from.
Who would you say were your early mentors leading? You just told us about your parents, but I asked this question, Beatriz, because you work with children, I work with children, and I find many times our young people want to go outside their homes to start finding mentors. As a Brazilian, many Ugandans will associate Brazil with soccer. Pele. We have people in my village, Beatriz, who still tell you their role model, their mentor was Pele. But what you just told us here, no matter how many people are surrounding you, your mom and your dad made a huge difference in your life, leading you to your following education. So please reemphasize that and tell us who were the mentors in your life, if there were others apart from mom and dad. And if you have siblings, also talk a little bit about them.
Yes, I would say that I really am a lucky person to be born in the family I was. I had a lot of opportunities with very interesting people around my parents. So since I was very young, I
Yes.
could follow up many conversations and meetings and be around. And also we had here in Brazil the dictatorship moment in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
And that was very important in all the vision we constructed with this kind of people trying to free the country and to have a commitment to make democracy come back. So
Yeah.
my parents were very important in that, and also all the friends. So I had many opportunities to see important role models around me. And then I had another very important chance in my life, which I think everyone that has the chance to have a mentor, somebody that is your that makes you grow up professionally, is very important. So when I was young, when I was 25, I went to Spain and I started working with a very important, well-known psychologist, very important in South America and in Europe, in Spain also. Her name was Anna Teberowski. And I went there to work with her. I got a fellowship. And since then, we worked together for 38 years. Unfortunately, last year she passed away. But since I was 25, I worked with her until I was 63. And she was a very, very important person in my life in terms of my professional development. So I started having her as a mentor. She was not, she was a very, she pushed a lot. She was not a kind all the time person. She was very exigent, so she rigorous, but that was very important for me. And we become very, very close, and it's a very nice relationship. So this was something in my life that was besides my other opportunity of having my family and my parents and all these opportunities around my young life. So this was really very important. You asked me about my siblings also. So I have a brother and a sister, but we don't have the same, each one went for a different path.
Yeah.
So the more academic and I am the one that went through this same path of an academic life.
Academic life. Oh, my friend Beatriz, you described starting as a teacher at 17. At 25, you meet Anna Kabrowski, who becomes a mentor, a friend for many years. Let's take a moment, just a minute, just to remember Anne and the role she played in your life.
Well, she was a lot for me. So last year was really hard because she passed away suddenly with nobody was expecting that. And my last report, institutional report, we make and we honor her. I've been doing that last year and this year. So every time I can, I honor her because she really made me understand the beauty of the learning process and have lenses to understand what's going on in the mind of the child when they are learning, and how can we connect this with and teach teachers and teach the systems to learn to observe the beauty and the potential that the children has. So she was really somebody that taught me to have eyes to understand the singularity and the beauty of the learning process in the classroom.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing and for sharing Anne's work. We are going to switch and go to what inspired you to start Labedu, the organization you started. You are teaching, 25 years still a teacher. You are learning about all these learnings with the children, and all these kids are learning in Portuguese, right?
Yes.
In Portuguese.
Yes.
So what led you to the founding of your own organization? And am I saying it right? Labedu?
Labedu, yes. Laboratory of Education.
Yes.
So the nickname is Labedu.
Yes. Laboratory of Education.
Well, I would say that, as I told you, I started teaching very, very early in my life. So having a classroom, first learning with another teacher, right? Working together. And then I got my own classroom for young children. I got in love with the learning process of reading and writing. That was my main subject during many, many years of it's still, but now it's a little bit broader than that. But at that point, it was we had very bad, and we still have bad scores in Brazil about the learning process of learning to read and write. So that was my main focus, and I started working with that age of children that they are learning to read and write, and really got in love with that subject because it's fascinating to see how children process the information and appropriate of the process and what they think about language, written language, and how to read and so on. So I started very early doing that. And then I worked a long time as a teacher. Then I went to Spain to do this specialization with Anna Tebrowski, because she wrote a very, very important book with Emilia Ferreiro. They are both one of the two most important scholars in the field. And they wrote a book about the process of... Emilia Ferreiro was a student of Piaget. So in the constructivist approach, they wrote a book. They made a huge research on how children learn to read and write. So I went there to Spain after she wrote that book to work with her and to learn more. And I spent 2 years working with her. When I came back, I went to the university. So I applied to be a professor, and I went into the university. And then I started being a teacher at the University of São Paulo.
Yes.
At the same time, I started my PhD. First, a master, and my master was transformed in a PhD during the process.
Yes.
So I worked many years in the academic field and working as a professor at the University of São Paulo. And at a point when Brazil started to have a new moment in which we had the third sector, the NGO sector, come up. Yes. And we started having a lot of initiatives and partnerships with private and public sector. And the NGO sector grew a lot. So then I started an NGO called SEDAC. And that NGO, yes, that was in the 90s, like 90.
Early 90s.
95, I think.
Yes.
So I founded that NGO with some friends and started working on teacher training processes through the NGO. And I led this NGO for 15 years, more or less. And then at a point, I started having some different vision of the main group of the NGO, because I had already then I've been in the field for a long time, so I was already a professional in the field, and I started questioning a lot of decisions that that NGO was having in terms of how to make the partnerships, how to implement the projects, and so on. And then that was the opportunity I had to go to Harvard 10 years ago.
Oh, yes.
In 2000. So when I went to Harvard in 2013, I went to create a new institution based on all my critiques and things that I wanted to face. So when I went there, I spent 1 year designing this new institution, which is Laboratory of Education. And now we have 10 years, a bit more.
Very good. So inspiration was rooted to the background you had as a child, your trip to Spain. When you are learning in Portuguese, are you learning in Spanish also?
Yes, in Spanish, yeah. In Spain, they speak Spanish, so.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So you are bilingual already as a child. Anybody who's going through schools in São Paulo, in Brazil.
Yeah, because as I told you, we had here this moment in Brazil, a very hard moment of dictatorship. So when I was very young, a child, we moved to Chile because my parents couldn't stay in Brazil because of the militaries. So I lived in Chile for 4 years when I was young. From 4 years old until 8 years old, I was in Chile.
Okay.
So I had the chance to learn Spanish.
Wonderful. So you get to Harvard 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, in Advanced Leadership Initiative. And then you do your research. 10 years later, you come back in different capacity and join our cohort to perfect or make it even better, keep the research going. How was your year, last year, coming back to where we had been before? Let's talk about.
Well, it was incredible. Yeah, it was incredible. I think this is a gift, right? So have the chance to go back and having already a project. So just to make it better and establish new connections and learn more and rethink and give a step back to look to your work from the outside. So all that was really amazing. So I think being in Harvard is just a gift because you are all the time very stimulated and connecting with people around the world and learning about many different ways of facing the challenges we have. So it was really very, very important in one term to learn. But in the other hand, I would say also in my case, I'm coming back 10 years later after working hard to create this institution and to make it work. So I would say that I was very happy also to see that the work we are doing is important and we are finding ways to approach the challenges in education that can make a difference. So it was also a reassuring process going back to Harvard and to understand that we are doing a good work and we have what to share with others in terms of finding paths and ways to face the problem of public education. I'm always committed with public education.
Yes, public education, and children education. In between coming to Harvard and also coming back when we met you, I don't want to go through the conversation and forget about your amazing children who came and visited you while we were there, had an opportunity to meet them. I know every mother, every father, we always have that. Brag a little bit about your babies. They're not babies anymore, but they are always your babies.
No. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your children.
So yes, as you said, as a mom, I'm always in love with them, and I think they are the best.
Yes, they
They
are.
are really nice people. I think they are very important to say that somebody from education, when you see your children grow up and you see that they're doing well, they are nice people, they are people that are committed with others and so on, that's very reassuring of what you believe.
Yes.
So my children, they're not children anymore. So my daughter is 30, going to be 35 in next month. And my son, he's 30. My son is an artist and a contemporary artist. And my daughter, she's a researcher for audiovisual and TV and documentaries and cinema.
Yes.
So they are really nice people and professional and independent. They have their lives. So they are my friends now. So we have a lot of nice we have a nice we're happy together and we have a lot to talk. So it's really.
Where are they living now? Where are you in São Paulo?
Now both live in São Paulo. So for a moment, one my son went to the United States, came back. He was living in Rio, but now we are all in São Paulo.
So the reason I wanted you to talk about the children, as a person who has dedicated yourself to education, what advice would you give young people who are trying to follow your footsteps?
The first thing I would say to young people is to listen. If you want to work with education, you have to develop your capacity to listen to people that are engaged, to understand the challenges from a practical point of view, not a theoretical point of view, because yes, of course, you need theory, you need to study, but I mean, it's a practical field. And the ones that are leading the field, they have practical questions. And I think we have to learn to listen and then connect with them and bring new ideas and bring new informations. But I think we need to listen. And I think nowadays, everybody understands about education. That's all around the world. It's like soccer. Everyone has an opinion, in Brazil mainly. Everyone thinks it's the coach.
Yes.
In education, that happens also. But we have to remind that education is a very complex professional field. So we really have to have background. Don't be dogmatic and simplistic. And we have a lot of initiatives which are very dogmatic and very simplistic for a field that is very complex.
Yes.
I think it's one of the most complex fields we have. But usually we don't treat education like that. So my advice would be careful. Don't bring magic solutions. That's the other problem. Education is full of magic solutions and they don't work because education is an incremental process. It is investing day by day in somebody that will become later on will be the result. You don't have the result immediately, never. So you are a father, very beautiful children you have, but you have to invest in daily basis, like I did with my children, and that's for all children. And I think this is a very important advice for young people. Sometimes young people have opportunity to go to very nice universities, and that's very good. I'm not saying it's not important, but I think you have to be careful and connect with the real needs of the field and join these people that are doing things and bring ideas and build together solutions,